Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode today. And today I would like to talk a little bit about sports and fitness in general. And in particular, a little bit more about obesity and fatness. Now, of course, when you hear obesity or fatness, it might sound a little bit perhaps triggering these days because a lot of people, and by a lot of people, I mean most likely social media, people who have a large audience, large voice, they oftentimes try to talk about body positivity, right? And what is body positivity? Body positivity is basically the opposite of fat shaming or the opposite of guilting someone, into feeling horrible about their body. Now, I've also seen the other side of the aisle or the other side of the spectrum where all the extremely fit guys or fit women, athletes, a lot of strong people saying that this is completely horrible and this is completely bad and so on and so forth. Now, as a philosopher or as someone who likes to philosophically take things a little bit apart and try to dive into it, I would like to today, this is kind of the goal today, I would like to talk about this in a way that isn't just me bashing fat people or me bashing obesity per se. And I have to make a specific distinction later on as we progress in this video. And I think I'll start off by actually starting with this distinction by saying that there are, in my experience, in my view, there are two types of people in this world who are, or two reasons why they are obese and fat, respectively. And I guess fat and obese are, I think, two different terms. Obese is really an extreme overweight. Fat is a bit more, a little bit over your BMI, your normal BMI index. So the two reasons are, one is that you have some kind of disease, some kind of illness, sickness, where your body cannot respond appropriately and hence you gain weight and there's not much you can do about it. Now, of course, there are more methods, more variations, more ways of trying to cure that, and so on and so forth. So I'm not knocking those people who were born with any specific diseases or illnesses who can't, combat obesity or fatness because of that. Now, I think the other reason, and this is more of a central type of conversation we're going to have today, are the people who specifically and on purpose make themselves fat, even though they were healthy, or essentially they are healthy, and they just lure themselves into the situation where they become extremely fat / obese. And this is the reason why I think we have to talk about it today. And this is oftentimes the reason why this whole body shaming or this whole body positivity then comes into light, because it's primarily those people who just simply are lazy and don't want to do sports, don't want to take care of themselves, don't want to, look good, look fit, look healthy. It's those people that we're talking about today. We're not talking about the sick people. But I think we have to rewind a little bit as to why obesity is growing, for example, in the United States or in Europe or in other places, but primarily in those well-developed countries where there's a lot of food and where there's capitalism growing, because in communism you're not going to see any of fat people because there's not much food to begin with. And believe me, I know that, and we're not going to talk about communism today, maybe another time, but that's more of a political conversation. But I promised I'm not going to talk about politics. So either ways, I think we have to rewind a little bit back and start off by saying that throughout history, we did not have processed foods. We didn't have those kind of fabricated, factory-made foods where you just eat from the canned food, or you eat from the cans and you eat all these stupid snacks and Coke and sodas and all these, yummy pastries and so on and so forth. The reason why we like those kind of exotic or exquisite snacks perhaps is because in the past those types of snacks they existed, but in terms of wild fruits, which or foods or fruits or foods that were sweet, like exotic fruits, for example. And they weren't often to be found in nature. And in primitive terms, when man would see something like that, he would instantly eat it and hide some of those snacks and keep it to himself, or just eat it all up immediately. And this kind of instinctual behavior carried over throughout generation to generation. And this is why we still love sweets. We have this innate desire to look for those kind of sweets, and hence it's very addicting, and it's very, you know, you want this instant gratification, let's say. And now, because we live in a world of abundance of all these sweets and snacks and all these things, then of course it's easily accessible these days. You just go into the store, you buy some snacks, some soda, and there you go. You already satisfy your needs. So it's as simple as that. And throughout history, aside from that, we didn't have all these things really. So hence there weren't really too many obese or fat people. Of course, with a few exceptions, there are always always going to be some of those people, but not in a huge quantity. And now, of course, with the start or with the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and all of that, when food started to become more mechanized and produced and factorized, of course, we have easier access to that, and hence we can afford more, and so on and so forth. The history. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, otherwise the video is going to be extremely long. Now, the conversation about the whole body shaming and body positivity. One side is that I do not agree with the fact that when I see posters or people talking about how you should not shame other fat people for being fat. Now, on one side, if I know that this person is being lazy and being on purpose, slothful and not willing to change, not willing to work on himself, and so on and so forth, then I do believe you need to get some kind of kick in the butt to get this person to realize, to make him understand that, hey, this is not good. You are gonna kill yourself in a span of, I don't know how long, but in a much shorter span for sure. You're gonna get all sorts of diseases. And besides, who likes obesity? Like, obesity brings absolutely no worse. It has zero positive effects on your body. Quite the opposite. It has every negative effect on your body, starting from your heart, your lungs, ending with your bones, joints, whatever. So, and then when you hear criticisms like that from me, especially someone who's an athlete, the first thing I hear is like, oh, well, he's a skinny dude. He's just mad, fat people are always happier, and, they live a happier life even though they're fat, but, they're always satisfied. Well, it's just, it comes to that kind of rabbit hole where you start to look for those kind of soft excuses, and you start to justify your reasons rather than actually accepting the hit, accepting the fact that you're just fat, that you're just obese, and that's it. And you need to work on it. And you need to go on a treadmill, go run, go to the gym, for example. Quit the food that you're eating, the junk food. Start working on yourself. But no, instead, you gotta start looking for those kind of funny excuses, and you gotta make yourself feel good and so on. So, of course, it's very comfortable living in a comfort zone for a very long time. And when nobody tells you anything, then sure, So that's the one side. The other side is then, of course, because I don't know the history of that person's, I don't know the history of his or her medical, conditions. So I don't really want to jump into conclusions or jump into judgment, really. And this is the other side. What I'm trying to say is that you're not supposed to, when you see someone fat, you're not just going to go up to that person and be like, hey, you're fat, you got to go to the gym. No, that is not the right approach. You do not judge people either ways for, the way they look or the way they are. Unless you know that person a bit better, unless you get to know him or her, unless you are close to him or her, and so on and so forth, then yes, then you can start being a little bit more like this. But other than that, you have no absolute reason to just start bashing people for just being absolutely fat whatsoever. And besides, essentially, it's really none of your business if you're like, if the other person is fat or not. You should take care of yourself. You should worry about yourself, you as an individual. Not, you don't bear collective responsibility for the obese people. It's them, and I'm pretty sure that they know as well. I hope. Maybe some of them don't, but I think quite a few know as well themselves that they are living with this conscious thought every day that, look, they're fat, nobody likes them, they're not sexually attractive, and so on and so forth. So, there's two sides to it. And what I see on all these platforms, on social media, and all the other, internet websites, Reddits and Quoras and all this stuff, is I see just two extreme sides trying to fight each other. And this is not how conversations go. This is not how, you get things solved or you come to some kind of compromise or consensus. On the one side, you have those quote unquote red pilled alpha males who are just all about, getting jacked up, which essentially I agree. Like, I personally, I want to be jacked, and I am, and I'm fit and I'm healthy and all of that. Good. I agree with this statement, but at the same time, it's like, just leave them alone. Like, leave the fat people. Like, if they want to be fat, let them be fat. It's not really your responsibility. But if you are complaining that you are fat and you're not doing anything, then yeah, it's absolutely your fault. It's your responsibility to get yourself in shape. So I think this is kind of the message that I'm trying to kind of say, and a little bit more in a middle ground way, in a more, subtle way. I don't want to really come across as someone who's like, extremely that or extremely that. I understand both sides essentially, and you have to dig a little bit deeper into it. But, at the same time, philosophically speaking and viewing it philosophically, you have to understand that the fact that the fat people have their reasons and the fit and healthy people have their reasons. And, in the end, I think the best approach is to just not really care that much about other people in that sense, unless you know them, unless you are somehow connected, related, close to them, and so on and so forth. So I think this is the message that I want to perhaps share in this video today, and a bit in a more balanced way. And like I said, I've seen way too many, one-sided conversations about that, and I don't really fully agree with that in that sense. And yeah, so in that sense, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about, what is your perspective on it, what is your journey. Maybe you were in that position at some point in time and how you got out of it. Please feel free to share whatever you feel like. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe as always, leave a like and share it with your friends and loved ones. And on that note, I hope you have a wonderful day.